Well, good morning. It's good to see everybody today. I'm going to do something a little different today. Rather than talk about our company, I'm actually going to focus on sharing a little bit about CleanSpark and really how myself and the company we're thinking about the industry as a whole. So everybody in this room knows there's a lot of buzz about our industry right now. It's being attacked by markets. It's being attacked by policymakers. Mostly, people don't understand what it is that we do. And I really wanted to check in with everybody as fellow miners. And I want everybody to know that we really believe whatever happens today in the coming weeks, know this, our industry can handle it. So personally, I'm big into Stoicism. I actually keep a coin in my pocket every day and use it for inspiration, different things on it to think about. Now, each coin that I would carry, it represents a different thing to keep in mind. Now, one of the reasons that I'm a big fan of Stoicism is because it's non-ideological. It's pragmatic. And that's what I want to focus on. So much of what we talk about as an industry is based on ideology. But, as miners, we're here to be pragmatic about everything. And Stoicism in itself, it looks at the world as it is. It forces us to ask ourselves, how can we be strategic? What's possible? And as Bitcoin miners, we are the pragmatic people in the group. And we are the people that are building the infrastructure of the future. Now, right now, we're in the middle of historic macro events that we likely won't understand for many years to come. Inflation has peaked to levels we've not seen since the 80s. There are wars, and the balance of power that has existed for decades has been disrupted. Market conditions, they're not pretty, and they're certainly not easy. And as much as all of us would like to think so, it's impossible to time the bottom of the market right now. Now, we could see things get worse, certainly, before it gets better. But I want to reiterate, I think Bitcoin mining, and as miners, we are prepared to thrive regardless of market conditions because of the way Bitcoin was engineered. None of us chose Bitcoin because of a USD value that it could be exchanged for at the time. We didn't choose it for a lot of reasons. Ultimately, we chose it because it was sound money, because it's transparent, because it has built-in scarcity, and frankly, because it will contribute to a better world. So, why does that all matter? It matters because now is the time for builders in these bear markets. It's time for us to build. Now, we are, as miners, as I mentioned, we're building the infrastructure behind Bitcoin. That infrastructure has a value that's so much greater than a USD equivalent. It's a tool for more and more people, and they're all adopting it. And with greater adoption comes greater strength. One thing I like to remind myself of is that Bitcoin is built on true capital. Unlike many of the other cryptocurrencies that are out there or the projects that we hear about that are speculative in nature, Bitcoin is a worldwide tool that millions of people rely on. Bitcoin has endured worse already. It's come out much stronger on the other side, and this is an opportunity for us to embrace where we are right now. We shouldn't wish conditions otherwise. Instead, we should accept them. The Stoics, they call this act of acceptance amor fati. Translated directly, it means to love fate. One way to think about it is embracing where you are and leaning in. Now, so how can we as Bitcoin miners embrace where we are? We are unique to this ecosystem because we have to be strategic. We don't have to have the same time or luxury for ideology as some of our peers on Twitter do. And again, this should be one of our key strengths. We can choose strategy over ideology, a choice that's a good thing for our industry, good for the network. But what does that look like in practice? Embracing where you are means thinking strategically. Rather than ideologically, it has three key components. First, it's the ability to see the world as it actually is. We can sit here and we can say, oh, if we only had X amount of capital, if only machines were manufactured in a different part of the world, if only there were more chips, if only difficulty hadn't increased, if only politicians understood our business. Frankly, this kind of thinking leads to paralysis. And as an industry, we have to accept where we are. Only then can we advance. Second, we need to craft a vision how the world could be. Just because the future is uncertain doesn't mean we can dream about what it will look like tomorrow. Participating in this project, building a new kind of money, itself is an expression of hope. So where do we see ourselves as a company in 5 years? Where do you see your company in 10 years or 100 years? That's where we need to spend time as miners. We need to be bold. We need to start planning now. We need to be on the path that gets us to our envisioned future. And then, as we get on that path, we have a lot of work ahead of us. But I think this conference has demonstrated there are so many people out there doing it. You know, one of the things Erica mentioned, we started this as an energy company. There was a time where I had to walk into a boardroom and talk to my board and say, hey, we've been focusing on energy, but now is the time with Bitcoin. Now is the time to go all in. There's a time to make a change. And since then, we've spent the last 2 years focusing on making the best strategic decisions to do so. And, you know, as part of our planning, we have a lot that we're going to do in the future. And I know this room, it's full of a lot of people with a lot of ideas. And I think we're remarkably clear-headed as an industry about where we're going. One of the things I like about the industry is we're generous with our time. We're generous with our relationships. We have a vision for where we want to be. We have a vision for where we're going to be in 2024 and 2028 as halvings occur, and we've all charted a path to get there. And I, for one, I'm glad to be on this path with you. Please come by and learn more about CleanSpark at our booth. But again, we're just happy to be here with our peers. Thank you very much.